The history of American Lutheranism during the 20th and 21st centuries is an intricate study of a tradition moving from the periphery of immigrant life into the pulsating heart of the American religious mainstream. While Part 1 centered on the arduous tasks of planting seeds in a new land and defining an identity, Part 2 explores an era defined by systemic maturity, organizational consolidation, and global engagement. This modern epoch witnessed a shift away from ethnic isolationism, where language acted as both a shield and a barrier, toward a vision of organizational unity and active participation in the broader social spheres. The governing principle of this period rests on the reality that adaptive moves within the church are inherently transitory. As the societal landscape shifted from the rural enclaves of the 19th century to the suburban sprawl and globalized networks of the 21st, the solutions of the past required constant re-examination. This history is characterized by a merger fever that sought to unify fragmented synods into cohesive national bodies. It was an era of a growing realization that the church possessed a responsibility to address issues of justice and mercy far beyond its own denominational borders. From the linguistic revolution sparked by World War I to the explosive growth of the faith in the global South, the modernization of American Lutheranism is a testament to a tradition's effort. It is a tradition's effort to maintain its ancient theological soul while embracing a rapidly evolving American and global heart. The late 19th century represented a phase where American Lutheranism successfully transitioned from a collection of loosely associated parishes into a formidable institutional force. This metamorphosis was achieved through the deliberate establishment of an extensive network of diverse institutions. Future leaders were equipped to navigate a changing American culture without losing their Reformation grounding. This systemic expansion also manifested in a broadened social footprint. By establishing hospitals, orphanages, and social service organizations, the church demonstrated an integrated commitment to caring for the whole person. This institutional infrastructure provided a sense of stability and permanence that allowed the church to thrive even amidst organizational difficulties and shifting demographics. While formal leadership remained traditionally structured, the operational vitality of the modern church was significantly propelled by the organized efforts of women. Through the formation of independent mission societies, women carved out a space to lead. Their work fundamentally shaped the compassionate and missional character of the denomination throughout the era. Simultaneously, the church developed a sophisticated written culture. Dedicated publication houses produced thousands of periodicals and books that linked far-flung communities across the continent. This literary infrastructure provided the necessary framework for a unified theological discourse. It served as a key factor in maintaining a distinct Lutheran identity within a pluralistic society. Even as resources were taxed, a growing sense of confidence led many Lutherans to look toward a broader global horizon, joining the wider Protestant mission movement. By engaging in international work in Asia, Africa, and South America, American Lutherans began to perceive their church as part of a much larger global body. Domestically, the missionary impulse sought to push the boundaries of traditional enclaves, reaching marginalized groups, including African Americans and Native Americans. These missions represented a critical early attempt to create a more inclusive future for the church, laying the initial groundwork for the multicultural communion that defines the tradition today. The 20th century brought a painful confrontation with the language question. World War I acted as a catalyst by making the use of the German language a severe political and social liability. This external pressure forced many congregations to adopt English far more rapidly. Second and third generation families who were primarily English-speaking created an immediate and urgent need for new resources. This effort culminated in the creation of the Common Service, which unified the worship of many different Lutheran groups under a shared liturgical language. This shared way of worshiping became a powerful force for unity, proving that the heart of the Lutheran witness could survive even as its European linguistic containers were cast aside. As the linguistic barriers that had long defined the various Lutheran synods began to crumble, the functional rationale for maintaining dozens of ethnically distinct organizations dissipated. This realization heralded a prolonged era of mergers, driven by the conviction that a common faith in a modernizing America necessitated a more visible organizational unity. The catalyst for this consolidation was the 1918 formation of the United Lutheran Church in America, also known as the ULCA. By bringing together several older, primarily English-speaking synods of German heritage, the ULCA signaled that Lutheranism was successfully transitioning from a collection of immigrant outposts into a cohesive national American denomination. This merger served as the first major milestone in a century-long movement, proving that regional and historical differences could be overcome in favor of a pooled mission and a more unified voice. Following this achievement, the mid-20th century saw a merger fever that sought to unify the various Midwestern synods of German and Scandinavian heritage. The establishment of the American Lutheran Church in 1930 and its subsequent expansion in 1960 were pivotal in breaking down the walls between groups like Danes, Norwegians, and Germans. These consolidations allowed the church to coordinate resources for education, social services, and national missions on a scale that was previously unimaginable. The trajectory of institutional consolidation reached its zenith in 1988 with the formation of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, also known as the ELCA. By merging the ALC, the Lutheran Church in America, also known as the LCA, and the Association of Evangelical Lutheran Churches, also known as the AELC, this historic union created the largest Lutheran body in the United States. The ELCA emerged as a thoroughly American and ecumenical church, representing a diverse range of cultural and theological backgrounds. However, this massive merger was not the end of the story. It brought into sharp focus the ongoing internal debates regarding social issues and biblical interpretation that would continue to define the denomination's character. Accompanying this internal drive for unity was a renewed commitment to external ecumenical engagement. The ELCA spearheaded a series of full communion agreements with other major Christian traditions. These partnerships allow for the exchange of clergy and joint mission work, reflecting a profound commitment to the visible unity of the Christian church. This era also witnessed a historic high point in global dialogue with the signing of the 1999 Joint Declaration on the Doctrine of Justification by the Lutheran World Federation and the Roman Catholic Church. While these ecumenical strides were celebrated by many as signs of progress, they also sparked concern among more conservative segments of the church who feared that such deep cooperation might eventually lead to a loss of the unique Lutheran confessional witness. While the impulse toward merger and ecumenical openness defined one branch of American Lutheranism, a significant portion of the tradition maintained a path of institutional separation. To this day, the Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod, also known as the LCMS, remains largely apart from the broader ecumenical relationships and the Lutheran World Federation that characterize the ELCA. The reasoning behind this persistent division is rooted in a fundamental conviction that true church unity can only be found in total, uncompromised agreement on every point of doctrine. For the LCMS, the historic Lutheran confessions are not merely historical documents, but immutable standards of truth that must be protected from the diluting pressures of modern American culture. This stance of institutional independence is seen by its proponents as a necessary safeguard. The LCMS continues to prioritize internal doctrinal purity over broad organizational cooperation. In this view, the Americanization of the church, at least in its liberalizing forms, is a threat to be resisted rather than a goal to be pursued. Despite these deep-seated divisions, the two major branches of American Lutheranism have not existed in total isolation. A formal link persists through bodies like the Committee on Lutheran Cooperation. In 2003, for example, the two bodies agreed to hold substantive discussions to explore their deep theological differences. These dialogues are typically designed to foster mutual understanding rather than a merger. This ongoing fracture remains one of the most significant features of the modern Lutheran landscape. It highlights the persistent tension between American adaptation and confessional preservation. While the ELCA pursues a vision of wide ecumenical unity, the LCMS continues to champion a model of confessional rigor. This division ensures that Lutheranism in America remains a house with many rooms, each offering a distinct perspective on what it means to be a faithful heir to Martin Luther's Reformation in a pluralistic society. To comprehend the interior life of American Lutheranism, one must move beyond organizational charts and into the specific theological grammar that governs its worldview. The primary engine of this identity is the dialectical emphasis on law and gospel. This is the specific lens through which the tradition interprets the entirety of the biblical witness. In the modern era, theologians like Gerhard Forde championed this distinction, insisting that the gospel is not a piece of information, but a done deal, a radical promise that actually does what it says. Gerhard Forde reminded the church that the primary business of the faith is not the regulation of behavior, but the delivery of a promise that kills the old self and raises the new. Equally vital is the two kingdoms theology, a framework that was put to the ultimate test by Dietrich Bonhoeffer. He navigated the right hand of grace and the left hand of justice during the darkest hours of the 20th century. Developing this further, William Lazarus articulated how this two kingdoms approach frees the Christian to serve their neighbor in the public square out of gratitude rather than religious coercion. When it comes to the sacraments, few defended the real presence as fiercely as Hermann Sasse. He stood as a global sentinel for confessional realism against the rising tides of symbolic views. For Robert Preuss, the objective authority of the Word and the sacraments was the non-negotiable anchor, ensuring the Church remained faithful to its historic, immutable standards of truth. For Robert Jensen, the Lord's Supper was the primary way the community is fed and unified by the actual presence of Christ, providing a powerful sense of belonging independent of human emotions. This emphasis on the objective work of God anchors the faith in a life where grace is not a feeling, but a reality delivered through water, word, and bread. As the church moved into the 21st century, it encountered a landscape defined by institutional contraction and a profound identity crisis. The reason behind this struggle is the transition into what scholars call post-Christendom, a societal shift where the church no longer holds a central, privileged place in the cultural or political life of the nation. This reality has manifested in a steady numerical decline and a fraying of the old ethnic loyalties that once provided a steady stream of new members. Without the protective hedge of German or Scandinavian heritage, the tradition is forced to ask, what makes us uniquely Lutheran in a secularized world? This period of contraction has necessitated a painful but necessary era of self-reflection. The institutional challenges facing the ELCA and other bodies are not merely financial, but existential. The task at hand is to move away from maintaining large, inherited infrastructures and toward missional strategies that prioritize local community outreach and the articulation of the gospel in a pluralistic language. The challenge is to adapt these forms without losing the core theological heritage that defines the tradition. It is a search for a post-ethnic Lutheranism that can speak meaningfully to a culture that is increasingly skeptical of organized religion. While the North American and European branches of the tradition grapple with decline, the global landscape of Lutheranism is experiencing explosive growth in the two-thirds world, particularly in Africa and parts of Asia. This demographic shift is moving the center of gravity for the entire global communion. The methodology of this transition involves the development of contextual theologies, where the core insights of the Reformation are applied to non-Western social and cultural realities. These global partners are introducing new perspectives on economic justice, health, and community life that are challenging the traditional priorities of Western Lutheranism. This global dialogue is a major source of new life for the tradition. It serves as a reminder that the Reformation message is not a European relic, but a universal proclamation of grace. Despite the significant institutional and cultural challenges, the future of American Lutheranism holds the potential for a profound theological renewal. The reason for this optimism lies in the enduring power of the Reformation's core insights: grace alone, faith alone, and the theology of the cross. In a world defined by performance-based identities and deep political divisions, the Lutheran message of unconditional grace provides a liberating and grounding alternative. The path forward involves a delicate balance, a deep commitment to the historic confessional standards combined with a genuine openness to the wider ecumenical and interfaith world. The story of Lutheranism in America is a testament to the enduring power of grace and the relentless pursuit of identity in an ever-changing landscape. The path was paved with both fierce theological conviction and the pragmatic necessity of adaptation. Join us next week as we turn the page to a new chapter on denominations in America with Methodism in America. We will explore how the circuit riders and the zeal of the Wesleys set the American frontier ablaze with a different kind of spiritual fire. If you found this deep dive into our religious heritage valuable, don't miss a single installment of Theology Today. Click the subscribe button now to receive every update directly in your inbox. Ensure you are part of the journey.